We are now just 29 days away from the official release of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker by Disney, Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams, and even creator George Lucas. That is all set and ready to end the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing that a lot of people are really concerned about when it comes to Episode 9 is exactly how J.J. Abrams is going to utilize many of the characters like Rey, Kylo Ren, Palpatine, and more, and exactly how it's all going to unfold in this movie. Now, thankfully, this week is a big week for the marketing of Episode 9 by Disney and Lucasfilm. We're getting new posters, we're getting new character posters, new interviews, new images. I mean, the list goes on. They're really trying to push this movie forward. And just the other day, we got Rolling Stone, who caught up with Kathleen Kennedy, asked her a bunch of different questions that she answered, and today they got the chance to actually speak with director J.J. Abrams, and he got to reveal his actual point of view on director Rian Johnson and some of the bold choices that he made with The Last Jedi. So I wanted to go over what J.J. Abrams had to say about Rian Johnson and his take on The Last Jedi, and then I'll go over what I think about all of this. So let's get right into this. So this is what Rolling Stone had to ask J.J. Abrams. Now they ask, there was a certain kind of irreverence in Rian Johnson's approach to The Last Jedi. He subverted some of what you set up. Snoke seemed like the major villain, for instance, and he killed him off. J.J. Abrams states, when I read his first draft, it made me laugh, because I saw that was his take and his voice. I got to watch cuts of the movie as he was working on it, as an audience member, and I appreciated the choices he made as a filmmaker that would probably be very different from the choices that I would have made, just as he would have made different choices if he made, of course, Episode 7. Then they go on to ask, what surprised you the most in what he did? And J.J. Abrams states, I felt the biggest surprise was how dark Luke was. That was the thing that I thought, oh, that was unexpected, and that's the thing The Last Jedi undeniably succeeds at, which is constant subversion of expectation. The number of things that happened in that movie that aren't the thing you think is going to happen is pretty fun. They go on to ask JJ, how did all those unexpected plot points affect where you brought the story? I had a real sense with The Force Awakens, co-screenwriter Larry Kasdan, about where things would go. Potentially, and I think that when I read Rian's script, what I felt was that with everything that happens in that movie, and quite a lot does, nothing sort of had a sense of inevitability where I thought the story would go and change. So, let me go over a couple of things here that J.J. Abrams had to say about Rian Johnson and why I kind of just disagree with kind of a lot of this, actually. Let's get right into this. So, I want to go over the first part that proves that J.J. Abrams would have treated Luke differently in The Last Jedi, alright? A lot of fans are always wondering what J.J. would have done if he stuck with all three Star Wars movies. If, let's say for example, if he stayed around for The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and of course The Rise of Skywalker consistently, not leaving for The Last Jedi and only doing 2 movies, where he would actually have done the entire sequel trilogy. So, this big question that they ask him and the answer that he gives actually does prove that JJ would have done things differently with the character of Luke. As he says right here, alright, the biggest surprise that J.J. Abrams had with, of course, The Last Jedi had all to do with how dark Luke Skywalker really was by Rian Johnson. Hence, Luke Skywalker being the way he is on that abandoned island on Ahch-To, in his isolation, a grumpy old man, all those different things, right? Now, if you guys like The Last Jedi, that is perfectly fine, that's your opinion, but my opinion is, and to be honest with you guys, and I think it's most important to be honest with your own opinions, I really had a lot of issues with The Last Jedi, especially with the character of Luke. I really think that was the base of exactly why I had a lot of issues with Episode 8, was how Disney, Lucasfilm, Rian Johnson, all of them, how they treated Luke Skywalker, that we all know and love from the original trilogy in The Last Jedi. And I always felt that, J.J. Abrams would have done things way differently than that of Rian Johnson. That's just my point of view, and this just proves it, I think. Because in that answer that he says, alright, that he gives, he states that the biggest surprise was how dark Luke really was. basically hinting that JJ, yes, was going to give us a lighter version of Luke and give us a different side of Luke Skywalker, that maybe he wouldn't have been as grumpy, or maybe he wouldn't have been as, I guess you could say, jaded, or not as the Luke that we saw in The Last Jedi, as a lot of people like to call him Jake Skywalker, playing off of what Mark Hamill called him. He's really not my Skywalker, I like to call him Jake Skywalker. That's what Mark Hamill always says. So that was the big answer that JJ had to give about Rian Johnson there. The other piece was about Snoke's death. Alright, so they go on to ask him, what was your biggest surprise about what Rian Johnson, subverted your expectations with? And Snoke seemed like the major villain, for instance, and Rian just killed him off. JJ simply says that when he read the first draft of the movie, it made him laugh. Because he saw that, was his take and his voice, and he got to watch cuts of the movie and he was working on it as an audience member. But at the same exact time, JJ says here that he appreciated the choices he made as a filmmaker. Now, appreciate the choices, does that really mean that JJ actually agrees with what Rian Johnson did? I feel like that there's something in this answer where JJ is holding back on his honest opinion or his honest thoughts about that. There's something about that. I don't know about you guys, but I think that there's more to what JJ wants to say regarding, of course, Snoke's death and what Rian did with Luke Skywalker. I mean, you name it. So like I've always said before in the past, I think that JJ would have done a better job with The Last Jedi if he actually stuck around. And honestly, he should have, in my opinion. I think that what they really could have done in the very beginning, if they wanted to create a consistent storyline, a nice, consistent sequel trilogy, is that they could have just had J.J. Abrams locked in for 3 movies. Give him a contract, you're doing 3 Star Wars movies, and that's the deal. Similar to what they did with other creators of the Star Wars franchise. And I think that's exactly what they should have done, in my opinion at least. I think that if J.J. Abrams was such a Star Wars fan, he would have definitely done another one right afterward, right? That's just my point of view on things. I was always a little confused as to why he left The Last Jedi and Rian Johnson took over. I don't know if he was busy with another project at the time, or if he just wanted to do something new, or if it was too much work for him. We have no idea. But regardless, this interview is very interesting because it does go over, what J.J. Abrams thought about The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson's decisions, and all those different aspects of those movies. And like I say, guys, if you have your own opinion, if you like The Last Jedi, that is fine. You're welcome here, That's not to say that we're kicking you guys out or looking at you guys differently. That's not the case. Everybody has their own opinions, and that's what I like about Star Wars. But at the same exact time, there's no denying that there is a large chunk of the fan base that has a big issue with, of course, The Last Jedi. I mean, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, it's like sitting at, 40-something% on the audience tomato meter? It's really not that great as, a Star Wars film as the other Star Wars movies at all, in my opinion. But moving on forward, like I say, I'm still hopeful about J.J. Abrams with The Rise of Skywalker. Yes, from what we have been hearing, it is quite concerning of what they're going through with Episode 9 and the choices that they are making, but that only will actually make us, talk about the film and kind of project our own opinions about that movie. And I think, if anything, a lot of fans are looking forward to, what's coming our way on Disney Plus, and we still got the originals, we still got the prequels, and we still got the expanded universe if worse comes to worse. That's how I view things, and that's how I like to look at the bright side here. So I would like to, really go over one last thing here, is that Kathleen Kennedy, I don't know if you guys saw the interview just yesterday, but she did go over about her, and her thoughts about her leaving Star Wars, leaving Lucasfilm. She doesn't necessarily know when that's going to happen. We do know that her contract is up in 2021, and I would be quite surprised if she stays another couple of years past 2021. I think that 2021 will mark the very year that Kathleen Kennedy is going to leave, right around when the Obi-Wan Kenobi Star Wars series is going to launch on Disney Plus. I think that'll be her window. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
moon, we hear them once again.